They called him the Diesel.
Crank up that diesel.
He leaned across the table and he goes, "You need to get me back there. I'll make you famous."
And to Riggins, good hold. He's got the first down to the 40. He's gone. The 35, the 30, the 20. He's gone. He's gone.
It's Riggo the Diesel.
Good day, I guess a good way to start out here. Welcome to Riggo the Diesel. I am John Riggins. Larry Michael joining me. And, hey, we have a special guest in the studio this morning. The T-Cat is back.
He's here.
How about that? Yeah, let's hear it for the T-Cat.
This has been on extended vacation, huh? I heard.
I think so, off and on.
I was gearing up for all this Super Bowl excitement.
I didn't see it down there.
And he's gearing up here.
I didn't see it down there. What a great town.
Local gear up.
Great town for a Super Bowl, though. Great town for a Super Bowl.
Was it?
It really was. I mean, you know, people chase those parties, Riggo. They chase the party. They go to a great party. They say, "Oh, I got to go to this one. Oh, SI's got a party. Or this guy's got." Everybody's got a party.
Yeah.
But I learned a long time ago. You find a good party.
Stay with it.
Stay with the party. You can't beat it. If you start chasing the party, you never find what you're looking for.
Well, not only that, but I think, Atlanta, I always think of Miami and I think of Los Angeles and I guess New Orleans, you got to throw them in there, but still, they're so spread out, at least Miami, I think, and L.A., and plus the weather. I always think of those are the perfect towns for Super Bowls. But then again, the weather wasn't that bad. It was a little chilly at the beginning of the week, right? Well, it got a little tight.
Early in the week, it was in the 30s and very, very windy, and it was miserable because you'd have to walk. There was a lot of security, which it should be, but you got to walk from Marietta to the World Congress Center, and that's like a 3-block walk, which normally wouldn't be bad, but it's the first thing in the morning, biting wind, you're in your face, but didn't get any snow at least, so that's the good news.
Yeah, well, that one year I think they had it down there. They had
ice
the ice storm. Yeah, exactly.
It's bad.
Well, it's kind of one of those deals, Larry. By the way, this is episode 23, I think. 23. Okay, pulled that one out. There's something, Larry, I can't put my finger on it. Now, I think unless you've played in the Super Bowl and won, then that is the gift that obviously keeps on giving. Because I can go back to Super Bowl 17 and it never ends. And I think that probably the Caps experienced that this past off season when they won
always the world champion.
Yeah, but not everybody else is so fortunate because I've also been on the flip side of that from the Tampa Bay Super Bowl 18. But I'm also looking at it now from just a civilian's point of view. And it seems to me that there's a little, for myself personally, and I don't know, I haven't quite figured out why, but it's almost like a birthday or like Christmas. I feel like I got a Super Bowl hangover and I can't figure it out. I don't know. Now, and I don't have literally a hangover because I had a couple glasses of wine last night, so that's not the case. But I'm wondering there's something that, and I'm wondering, is it because it's the end of the season and we now know, although a new league is starting, which we'll talk about that in some other show. But do you feel that way at all? That there's kind of like a letdown now that it's all over with?
Yes, absolutely yes. The realization is no football until, I guess, OTAs and the whole process begins again. It's the end of a very long process. And, you're right. And as I was driving into work today, I was thinking, it's going to be a while since we'll have another football game.
Right.
It's going to be months until we see a football game. So, but these guys need to reload. It was a bad game. I did not like the game. I thought from beginning to end I was disappointed, and I was pumped. I came home yesterday, didn't stay for the game, and this is the day my son was going to come over, going to watch some of the pregame show, but God, I just was let down just over until the very end of the game when they got that last drive to score that touchdown, and actually the field goal put them up, right? Mm-hmm. Until then, I was totally not engaged in the game. He said it was good defense. I don't know. I thought the Rams peaked about 4 weeks ago.
Maybe, yeah, I agree. And what I was going to say, what I was thinking was the same thing. And this is what the Super Bowl has become. It's this huge. It's like Mardi Gras.
Yes.
About what, a month before Mardi Gras happens? Because Mardi Gras, I think, is sometime in February. But and I think that it bleeds over into. Although I didn't really watch it on television every night, or I suppose like ESPN, they go around the clock with their Super Bowl coverage and all this and everything, and they're interviewing everybody possible. You've got Radio Row, and you got that going on. But because of all the hype that leads up to the game, and then just what you said, And I'm wondering if that's actually part of it, that let's be honest with one another, that was a clunker yesterday. There's no other way around it. But at the same time, you could look at that but that's not what we're used to now. And I would think it would take probably somebody that's aged to be able to appreciate the defense that was played yesterday by both teams. Exactly. I mean, if he were alive, George Allen Sr. was going, now that's my kind of Super Bowl. I think it got out of hand there at the end, because when it was 3-3, that's football right there.
It was 3.
It was like a baseball game.
It was horrible. It was, even the commercials were bad. Even the halftime was bad.
Maroon 5, oh!
Oh, that was horrible.
Awful.
That was horrible. Why would that guy put all those tattoos on himself like that?
Awful.
Craziness. And why do they have to force these acts into a 15-minute window and cut down every one of their songs? And no, it's just do something better. Come up with a different idea. I mean, and the commercials, my wife, we gotta watch commercials, right? Oh, we'll see the commercials. Yeah. Nothing.
What sticks out in your mind as commercials go? I had two that I can. Other than that, most of them were going over my head. One of them was the elevator with Jason Bateman, where he, this, that, whatever, and all this is what, the talk, where obviously a kid, birds and the bees, and they were all. I thought, okay, and it was one they played at the very beginning, and then I guess it was Game of Thrones where they snuffed the Bud Light night.
They never said
I still don't understand it. Yeah. So my guess is what Game of Thrones and Bud Light teamed up to do that spot.
Yeah.
And then you had, now this was the other part as far as Budweiser goes. They also went around and I guess exposing their competition by mentioning
the corn syrup.
The corn syrup, the barrel of corn syrup to Coors Light.
Yes.
That was just right in their face. I kind of like that. Actually, I watched it.
I thought that might have been the best spot.
Yeah. Best spot was those guys with Marshawn Lynch and the cake. You saw that, right?
Oh, you mean the one with all the ex-NFL
players? Peter Berg produced that.
NFL 100.
Yeah. Yeah, that was really very, very
Is that
well
where they
done.
had, like, Ditka was in it?
Yeah, Joe Montana threw the football, and Butkus was in it. I mean, there was everybody in that thing.
When Ditka was Butkus. That's who I was thinking of.
Yeah, that was a good one. The First Responders one with the Coach Lynn of the L.A. Chargers. Do you recall seeing that one?
No. I saw the commercial.
He came in. He was talking to these folks in a fire engine house, in a fire department, and he says, a lot of people don't know I was in a bad car accident, and I flew through the air 45 feet, and I'm lucky to be alive. And if it wasn't for the first responders like you, he was giving him a speech.
I did see that.
And then the people that actually saved him were there. And so he started crying. It was very real. I can't imagine that
Another Peter Berg production, by the way.
Was it?
Peter Berg produced that entire series
yeah,
of those commercials.
That was for Verizon, I think.
Yes.
But, really very well. But overall, clunker.
Everybody was playing it safe. Nobody wants to offend anybody anymore, so you get a lack of creativity.
So we got to offend some people here on the show.
Let me throw something out there, though, which unwittingly, I don't know if Budweiser knew what they were doing or not, but wouldn't you think the people from Coca-Cola would be a little apprehensive about all the corn syrup?
Yeah.
Because that's what Coca-Cola is corn syrup.
For $5.25 million for 30 seconds, I think Budweiser knew what they were doing.
Oh, I know they knew what they were doing, but if you're Coca-Cola, it's kind of like, hey, you're putting this in, well, maybe
that's 100% of their product, the corn syrup.
Yeah.
I didn't know there was corn syrup in Coors Light.
I thought it was healthy. It's good for you, isn't it? It's got a lot of vitamin D.
How does corn syrup fit into a light beer? And Coors Light's supposed to be the least calorie beer, except for Corona Light, I think.
Well, but
how would I know that? Well,
but they say alcohol has sugar in it, so I don't know. Must be something. Well, actually, yeah, that's where it starts. Alcohol, like when you're brewing, it's converting from sugar to alcohol. That's the brewing process. The fermentation.
That's how good this game was. We're talking about
corn syrup.
Very interesting.
Yeah.
There's something else I want to come back to. Let's take a little break. Larry, you want to go first? You want me to go?
We'll go first, John. Here's a little tip. If you need a mortgage, use the pros at McLean Mortgage. Buying a home can be stressful, filled with hassles. You know that. The experts at McLean Mortgage understand what an important financial investment your home is and will seamlessly guide you through that process to successful home ownership. A smooth, amazing, easy, professional, and first rate. Those are just some of the ways you can describe McLean Mortgage. Check them out, McLeanMortgage.com, lending as it should be.
Riggo here. Most people give little or no thought about their home's plumbing until there's an emergency. Now, wouldn't it be great to know that all your plumbing is in good condition and that you're not wasting water or your hard-earned cash? The team at O'Connor Plumbing can give your home a complete plumbing checkup of all the visible piping, drains, faucets, traps, water heaters, sump pumps, toilets. They'll check it all and at no cost for the next 30 days. Call O'Connor Plumbing now to set up your no-cost 44-point home plumbing inspection at 1-833-RIGGO-44. 833-RIGGO-44.
Now, here's something that'll catch your attention. Extreme opportunity to win millions of dollars ahead.
Got my attention.
Right? Extreme Million Scratcher could get you $10 million without you having to do anything extreme at all. The game has a $10 million top prize, a $1 million second prize, over $256 million in total prizes in the entire game. All you have to do is head over to your local lottery retailer. Game will make even the dullest winter day sparkle. You have 30 chances to win per ticket. There are multipliers in the game, too. If you have a non-winning ticket, you can enter into the second chance drawing in April for $1 million. Don't spend the day staring out your window like Todd or leafing through a magazine you've read 1,000,000 times. You should check out Extreme Millions. That's an extremely easy question to answer.
Ladies and gentlemen, stand back and watch the Phoenix rise from the ashes.
Stand back. It's Riggo the Diesel.
Yes, it is.
I'm starting to cringe now when I hear that. It's getting a little
year.
Huh?
Maybe this is the year, new year.
How so? The Ashes?
From the ashes, 2020. All right, we get ready to start a new year.
Is
the new odds are out. Who do you think's the favorite for the Super Bowl?
I wonder, New England?
No. Kansas City.
Kansas City.
6-1.
Well, yeah, that would be probably pretty good.
They're going to win the regular
New England,
season.
New Orleans and the LA Rams 8-1.
New England, they got them coming back. How can you not? You got to keep them in your. You got to keep them in your sight at all times. I wanted to get back to the halftime show because Coco Riggins provided our halftime show.
Really?
Well, because Maroon 5 is one. I mean, Maroon 5 is one of her favorite groups. So
really?
she was singing and dancing and it was, you know what? It was really cute to see that when you got Coco's 14 and she's a typical teenager and this is a hot band and all that stuff. And to see her singing along with the songs and so engrossed in it because obviously the football goes over her head. She could care less about the football for the most part. Although she asked me a few questions. And so I enjoyed that part of it. But I will say this now. I have to tell something on myself, which, I guess I never thought that I would, but I did. I actually, my dad was an interesting guy, funny guy. I loved him and all that stuff. But, there was a little bit of friction there over the years. And if I get to thinking about some stuff, too much, then I go, ah. But anyway, I think yesterday during the halftime show, I turned into Gene Riggins. I mean, I could see it because he used to always go, like when the Beatles first came out.
Yeah.
Let's face it, those guys were not. He'd get into, in other words, two kinds of musicians in his mind that he didn't care for. The long hairs, the violins and all that.
Look at their hair. They need a haircut.
And then, you got into people like the Beatles. He just, this music. God, that's awful.
Oh, God.
Well, yesterday when they started doing the rap, I was telling the Coco, and she was going, shh, shh. And I would be going, who's that jagoff? I never heard of this guy.
Travis Scott? Travis Scott?
Yeah.
He got beeped a lot. He got beeped.
What do you mean? In other words,
they dumped him. Yeah. They dumped him 3 times for long periods of time. Yeah, I thought I was having audio difficulties.
That's what I didn't know what that was.
Yeah, he was getting beeped. Yeah,
I thought Coco kept turning the thing down so she could hear. I didn't know.
No, you know what?
That's what that was.
I think he did that on purpose because a lot of people didn't think that he should perform in deference to the social.
Colin Kaepernick.
Yes, and so. But I think he figured he probably needed to throw a couple words out there to keep his street.
So he was dropping F-bombs and stuff like that.
Yeah, he was dropping something in there. That guy's a very popular guy. Yes. Very popular.
You've heard of him?
Oh, yeah. Very popular. I'm not a big fan. Not a big fan.
Well, you're quite a bit younger than me, but
I ain't that much younger than you. But I'll tell you what, as bad as it was, and I was struggling to listen to this thing, okay? And it was Adam Levine, and he's doing his thing, and it's boring me. And then there's the guy with the the big fur coat.
Big Boy, was that
Big
his
Boy
name?
with the big fur coat, which just seemed really weird that he was wearing this huge fur coat.
Yeah,
and then I'm wondering, I said, only one thing could save this. And I told my son, I said, you know what they're going to do? Their last song is going to be, is a song titled Moves Like Jagger?
Yes.
I said, only thing that's going to save this for me is if Mick Jagger comes out when he starts singing the song. I said, this would be the best. Well, they didn't do that.
No hologram, no
nothing. They could. He is still alive. You don't need to do it with him.
They've never done it, have they? The Rolling Stones have never done a Super Bowl.
No, I don't think they have. I think
They're going to get him before it's too late.
They're coming to FedEx Field. How old do you think Mick Jagger is?
He's 70-something.
74.
Yeah.
And Keith Richards is the same age. Charlie Watts is 75. We looked it up last night after I said, hey, well, but how much would Mick Jagger want to walk out on the stage at the Super Bowl?
You know what's weird, though, Larry? I've read this, that nowadays the artists, I don't think they pay the NFL, but they do it for free.
They do it,
They do it pro bono.
Just for-
Did you know that?
Free at halftime.
No, but the guy kept on promoting it.
It's the biggest audience in the world.
The
that they-
biggest
And that's what the NFL
concert.
sells them on.
Yeah.
They say, hey, listen, you don't want it? You got somebody else here lined up. Take it or leave it. Once, twice.
I don't know.
Okay.
I guess that helped him. I guess, any publicity is good publicity, but then you're wondering, is he really singing? Is he really playing the
That's the
guitar?
other thing, Todd, and I asked him we were texting back and forth, and I asked him, I said, in other words, is this what's going on, or are they lip syncing? And what you said, it's half and half, or they're singing, except maybe their mics are not hot?
Yeah, this is all pre-canned.
I don't know.
It's-
I mean,
Larry, I don't know if you
Yeah,
noticed, especially even with the national anthem with Gladys Knight.
Was she singing?
Yes. Well, no.
Gladys Knight looked like she was singing.
No, they give them a hot mic, but it's pre-recorded. You see how fast they were doing the cuts and the edits, and not ever zeroing in close and hearing how fast they keep it moving.
Yeah.
You could see a number of times where it didn't sync up perfectly.
Really?
Yeah.
Come on, just sing it. Why can't you sing live?
Because they don't take anything to chance at this type of event.
Such a large
Been
event.
kind of a
Somebody forgetting the words, somebody.
Yeah, that's what I
whatever.
think.
You know what I love, John, and I don't. You obviously know this, but I love when you watch it and they show the superstar rock star. He goes off on that little stage that goes into the fans, and all these fans are absolutely going crazy. All those people got paid $25 to be there. None of those people are real fans. Around the stage,
And then what's his name? It was Scott? Was that his name?
Travis Scott.
Didn't he do the dive into the...
He did. He did.
Fell back. And
And
of course,
did
that was my opinion to say, man, it'd have been cool if those people would just got out of the way and let
Well,
him
I
just...
got to be honest. That was almost Tom Brady at the end of the game in that scrum.
What was that all about?
I've never seen anything that bad where Tracy Wilson could not get to him.
She got overrun. I think she was scared for her safety.
And Michael Steele of the Ravens, Sage Steele's brother,
It's Chad.
Right.
Is Chad Steele or is it Michael?
Chad.
Michael Steele used to be
former
a politician.
Yes.
Yes.
Well,
Getting your steels mixed
he was
up.
trying to shepherd it, but I've never seen it that disorganized at the end. And you heard some
Profanity?
profanity
Yeah.
as well in that because they were trying to get Brady right after the game.
Yeah.
CBS pays a lot of money for that.
It wasn't the greatest production either.
No.
I don't think it was the greatest. There was a lot of glitches in there, and Tony
The very
Romo never
first
got a chance to do his
opening
thing.
kickoff, They showed that bizarre ground field angle that,
Yeah, there are a couple mistakes along the way. I don't know, but it's hard to live up to the hype, right?
Well, that's what my point is. That's what I'm saying. It's like, the game was... I guess you might say the game, although you have to appreciate what you saw defensively, but there's a weird thing about that unless you have that kind of a mindset. It is boring. The fact that the Rams, they had 8 possessions at one time. They punted their first 8 possessions, I think, before they ever got a first down.
Yes.
And then they'd get one, what's his name finally? Gurley.
What happened to him? What happened to him?
Exactly. He's been gone for the last month.
Yeah, I don't know. And they said he wasn't hurt, and he didn't look hurt. It just looked like there was no place to go. And I think you know what? You give Bill Belichick enough time. He's from a defensive standpoint. Brady handles the off. Belichick, especially at the end, there was one play where they threw a flat pass to the right in the last quarter. And the announcers, Jim Nance said, Tony Romo said, "Look at how many people are." They almost knew what was coming. And that was the difference. Couldn't do anything. I mean, that's Gurley, too. And C.J. Anderson at least runs hard between the tackles.
Yeah, and that's what I don't get, really, though, because if you've got that kind of talent and you've got supposedly those kind of linemen, I mean, they talked about how both teams have excellent offensive lines, and I believe that. But, boy, to go out there in a big game like that and you don't end up, there's nothing going on. You can't actually dent the defense. it's kind of mind-boggling. But to see, and it was on both sides of the ball now. It wasn't just that New England was dominating that much. I thought that the Rams did a pretty good job. But I think it was all said and done, I don't think the Rams quite got the pressure on Brady that was put on Goff. I think that he had a little bit more pressure on him because you notice there was time, of course, he can do it and Brady can't, but he would have to get outside the pocket and try to make something happen, which didn't happen all that often.
So they say that Belichick is famous for taking away
stars.
Yeah. So I would just, in hindsight, hey, he probably said, we're going to make Goff beat us.
Yeah.
And we don't think he's capable of beating us.
Yeah, well, that's what I don't know how much Romo knows about the whole situation, but he did indicate that if you make Goff stand in the pocket and throw the ball, you got a pretty good chance at it.
Young guy like that, compared to Tom Brady, I mean, night and day.
But you know what? Listen, I don't know what Todd and I text about this. I wanted to talk about the jets that flew over, which is always my favorite part of anything when those F-16s come over. And I think, what was it, the Blue Angels or the Thunderbirds? I can't remember now.
It was more like the Blue Angels, but I'm not sure. I wasn't listening, but they were in that same formation.
And the guy, this is what gets me, is the guy that is tailgating the lead dog. He's got to be, maybe 60, maybe 100 feet, you can't tell, behind him at about, Mach 1 when they come over that?
Yeah.
I mean, you're talking about some serious NASCAR-type driving, or if you want to. And then Todd said that, and I didn't realize it, but I think he's right, because that guy in the back, I don't know if you saw it, but it was a two-seater. And actually, Brady was the pilot in the front. He parachuted, came through the hole in the ceiling, in his uniform, is good to go. It's the damnedest thing I ever saw. So it brings me to say he is the best. You're going to hear it from first and the last time. He's the best athlete of all time. Forget about Wilt Chamberlain. Forget about MJ. Forget about
Jesse Owens.
Huh?
Jesse Owens.
Jesse Owens. Usain Bolt.
Jim Thorpe.
Oh, wait a second. I just thought of something. I forgot. There's one other guy that he has to take a back seat to. Ditka. There ain't nobody better.
Nobody's
than
tougher than Ditka.
Ditka, exactly.
Well,
Yeah. Little Saturday Night Live.
It was the Thunderbirds and the Flyover. Now, the only thing I gleaned out of the 7-8 hour pregame show on CBS, they did interview the guy that was in charge of the Thunderbird Flyover, and he goes, here's how precise we are. We have to hit, not on the Brave, we have to hit it when they hit the R in Brave. It's when that flyover's. So that's precision.
Awesome.
And you know what? It wouldn't surprise me if who would have been coaching him up. Belichick had something to do with it. I would have to believe
You mean
that.
his headset was patched into the lead pilot?
They just flipped him onto another network, and he said, okay, guys.
Just move it. Speed it up.
All right, we'll take a little break here and come back with a finisher.
Hey, if you're looking for a family-owned and operated heating and air conditioning contractor, Bowman's Heating and AC is the company you're looking for. For over 30 years, Bowman's has serviced Northern Virginia, taking care of any heating and cooling situation that comes their way. Bowman's friendly and highly trained technicians specialize in air conditioner and furnace repair, as well as service and maintenance to indoor air quality equipment and any other HVAC equipment you may have. Call Bowman's Heating and AC. Give them a call, 703-471-0452 to schedule an appointment today. Bowman's Heating and AC, 703-471-0452. Helping people improve their lives, which should drive business. That's the belief at Koch Industries, which employs more than 65,000 people across America. The team at Koch works together to meet the world's changing needs in transportation, medical care, water filtration, household goods, energy-efficient building products, and everyday technologies, all while consuming fewer resources. See the innovations firsthand at kochindustries.com.
Who's bored? Who's broke? And who's back?
I wanted to always see the redwoods. I wanted to see the Rocky Mountains. I wanted to see the Painted Desert, the Petrified Forest, the Grand Canyon. That was like the land that I always wanted to go to.
John Riggins.
Well, there's a lot of people around here that can't let that go. It was just too good of a moment.
Let it. It's been a long week, John. You don't understand what I've been through.
Well, that's exactly where we're going now, is what you've been through on Saturday morning, bright and early at 6:30. You got your wonderful Eggs Benedict and whatever else, caviar and champagne. And, of course, wasn't quite that, right? It was good. It was a little bit short of that. But you voted, you had the whole. By the way, what time? You started at 7 o'clock. What time did you walk out of the room?
So it started at 7, and we left at about 3:25.
Really? That was pretty quick.
And
Well,
of course,
you know-
we're talking about the Hall of Fame, in which, Larry, you are the Washington
I'm the Washington representative.
for the voting at the Hall of Fame.
There's
I figured
48
we'd
voters.
get that out eventually, but thank you for pointing it out, TCAT.
There's 48 voters.
That's why we need TCAT.
Yeah, the master of the obvious. 48 voters. You come into a room at 7, and it's a big U-shaped, multiple tables, big room, and all the selectors are on one side. And at the end, with the open end, you have David Baker, takes up about 3 spots.
At least.
And you have their board, and it's a very interesting process. First of all, the contributors are presented, and that was Pat Bolin and Gil Brandt, and guys get up and make presentations. And then
On their behalf.
on their behalf. Only the 48 guys in the room and some staffers for the Hall of Fame are there. And then they did the senior, Johnny Robinson, who's a great former Kansas City Chief. And then you vote on them. And there's a accounting firm. I don't know which one it is.
Robinson have a presenter as well? He would have.
Yeah,
right?
he did. A guy from Kansas City.
Everybody has a presenter.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. And last year I presented Joe Jacoby's case in his
Correct.
final year as a modern-day candidate. And then you vote, and then you break for a few minutes, and you come back and you start again. And the remaining 12 people are presented. These are like the modern era guys, like Ed Reed and the guys that got in, Tony Gonzalez. Each one of them will have somebody get up, read a presentation. There's a clock on them. It's 5 minutes long. Got to keep it going. And then they open discussion on each one of those candidates for an open discussion. And I found over the last couple of years, the more discussion there is, it can show one of two things. People are trying to talk themselves into voting, or there's a nuance here. And again, first ballot Hall of Famer was discussed a lot about Champ Bailey, but actually all of them, all of the first ballot Hall of Famers that were let in.
Who was Reed, Gonzalez, and Bailey? Were
Yes,
the first time.
those are the 3, and rightfully they all get in. They're all great players, and there were 4 offensive linemen among the finalists. Only 1 got in, Kevin Mawai, who is a center, and so it is very interesting. And there's a log jam of seniors that Joe is now part of that group. Then you have to wait. And there's all kinds of different rules that govern what happens. And then by the end, you get to the final 10, and then you get to the final 5. And those final 5 are voted up or down, and all those 5 guys, at least in my experience, are
the
in.
final 5.
Yeah, you go from 15 to 10 to 5. And
Let me start over so I can understand a little bit better. You just say that you had Champ Bailey and he has his presenter. His presenter gets 5 minutes.
Yeah.
And then there's discussion.
Yes.
But there's no vote on Champ Bailey at that point in time.
No.
Okay.
It's at the end
so you
of the
go through
presentation.
each guy that way. Then you start. Then you what? Then you what? Vote if you think a guy's in, and then they tally those votes and cut the field down to
10.
Down to 10.
To 10, and then from 10. You go to 5. The voting kind of happens
But that's
quickly.
not. But I thought, Larry, that you could. Some years. I mean, my class was 4, and now there's what 8 in this class.
But then you see you had the 3. You had the 2 contributors and the senior candidate. And I don't want to say
I
it's
see.
a
So
fait
that's 3.
accompli, but I think these guys, if you get to that point, like Gil and Pat Bolin, you get to the point where you're in the room there and they're voting on you. I mean, just the credentials are so good for all these guys that. Right. But the tough part here is you got 15, you got 10 of the modern era guys, and after those 10 have been determined, then it kind of happens quicker. They're not continuing to present.
Okay, so there's no more discussion after the first cut. It's just voting.
Yeah, I mean, is there any questions? Is there anything that there's always those. It's a very, very professionally run thing by David Baker. I have to say, he's outstanding in that venue. He just really keeps it going. He wants everybody's voice heard. And just, I'm very impressed with the way the meeting is run. And then you vote on the final 5. And then they didn't tell us who the final 5 were. You leave and you don't know. You don't know until the PR release comes out, because they don't want anybody spilling the beans, because the writers are going to want to write about it if they knew about it before it's announced. So
yeah, well, I agree with that.
You kind of know, though. You kind of know because you get to the final 5 and then you vote on the final 5.
Yeah, but that's what I'm confused by this, Larry, and I hate to be so dense here, but you have 10 guys, right?
Right.
well, then you say you voted down to the final 5, you'd be done, wouldn't you?
Yeah,
There'd be only one vote.
Then
you're saying there's 2 votes?
Yeah, then you go through it again just to confirm all those 5 are in. And so, if there's any more discussion or anything that pops up, like I said, I'm very impressed with that.
Isn't it true? You don't have to take 5. You
Right.
still have to get the minimum amount. Like they can only
Right.
You can look at the bylaws. You can look at the bylaws. There's a minimum amount of positive votes are needed.
I think it's 80%.
80%. It's again. I think if people complain about it, and I know a lot of fans of Joe's complain about it.
exactly.
And I complain about it because I think Joe. I mean, I look at the other offensive linemen there, and I would say that he is more impressive. Has a more impressive resume than any of those guys. And he didn't get in. He had the same number of Pro Bowls, give or take. All decades player, 3 Super Bowls, all the accolades that I got. Hall of Famers to talk about Joe. All the Hall of Famers. Well, Todd
that had to play against him.
Todd was part of the process. Todd was my wingman, in fact. But it's a matter of getting that 45, 48 guys in that room, and they're all not like me, and they're all not like Todd, and they're all of them. You got a guy. Pittsburgh guy thinks that Alan Faneca is the greatest guard in history. I mean, he's a good player. They're all good players. I mean,
well, back to your first ballot discussion. This is where I really am starting to have a problem because first ballot is extraordinary, where you were supposedly revolutionized the game,
right?
And that was rarefied. That's a rarefied distinction. But more of the modern day guys for marketing, popularity, fill in the blank. With all due respect, do they belong in? But sure. But the first ballot, look how many first ballots have come in the last 3 years.
Yeah, but you know what? You make a good point.
Aren't those kind of players, revolutionary type players?
You make a good point, but I don't buy that point. I don't buy that point. I don't buy what he's. I love Todd, but I don't buy. And I think this is maybe my own feeling. You're talking about media. You're talking about this. I just think you're talking about an era now where the amount of news that's distributed about all these guys is overwhelming.
Correct.
So you say, media, but everybody's the great. The next greatest thing is the greatest thing ever, and Tom Brady might be in that category now as the greatest quarterback of all time. You still will dispute it if you're a Joe Montana fan or whatever else. It's up to discussion, but you're inundated with this information, and by the time you get in there, it's not like you just had zero. Every day you get information about all these guys. And I think it does
to the detriment of the older generation. Why should they be penalized for guys that have been?
They're not being penalized.
And that's the way it feels because name the. I mean, obviously we're still sore about Joe not being in, and I'll be the first one to admit that. But you have Faneca. I think Steve Hutchinson was he a final?
Yes, he was a finalist.
And you had Tony Baselli. And you had Kevin Mawai.
Yep, and that's the four of the 15 are those offensive linemen.
So that was 4 offensive linemen. And to me, they're all, I don't want to call it, they're like all guys that played after post 93, or I don't even want to use that as a reference, but they're guys that played within the last 15 years, I'm going to guess, or certainly retired within the last 15 years. And I think the voters, you would be an exception, but then again, maybe not. I mean, the average age of the people that vote on us, I've heard this.
It's an old room. It's not a young room. I mean,
is that right?
There's a couple young guys in there, but I've
always heard that's what's holding Joe back was the fact that these later players, and who knows, they have more publicity in them, but good God, none of them are a part of a line that actually made NFL history, the Hogs, and there was nobody, and none of them have done what Joe Jacoby did, which was played for a decade plus, and was in 3 different Super Bowls, and we played in 4, won 3 out of 4 Super Bowls. I mean, I don't know how it's so hard to convince guys in that room of his greatness. Plus he looks the part. Well, there's a lot of guys you look at and go, he's in the Hall of Fame. Yeah. You look at Joe and you go, ooh, he's in the Hall of Fame.
Well, I think we have a right to maintain our personal bitterness toward it. And again, you're competing against the other guys who have been voted to that point to become finalists, and that selection process is meticulous. I like the guy named Isaac Bruce. I looked at his numbers. Yeah. Said he didn't get a sniff. I mean, but he was a finalist.
Does Torrey Holt's name get mentioned?
Not yet. And Torrey Holt has better numbers than Isaac Bruce. Right, because
he was the go-to guy.
Hey, London Fletcher is a player that should be up for consideration. Edgerrin James, he's a finalist. He didn't get a sniff.
And you got Pat Fisher from
Fisher. Certainly, the numbers dictate him being there.
17 years playing corner.
56 interceptions, career interceptions. You're a 10-time Pro Bowler. There's a lot. There's a bunch of guys like that. Joe now is in that group. So the issue here is the Hall of Fame trying to right some of those mistakes, or people that fell in the cracks. I mean, it's a horrible way of putting it about a human. Someone fell in the cracks.
Yeah.
Joe would not fit through any crack. Okay,
no, he wouldn't seem to fit with one.
It'd have to be like like an earthquake had come through, and that crack might have swallowed him up.
Well, for those that may not know, you have to sit out 5 years once you retire from the league. You then have 20 years of eligibility. And this isn't taking away anything from a Champ Bailey or a Jason Taylor.
Right.
But they have 20 years to get in.
Yes.
But they get in on the first ballot to the detriment of a Joe Jacoby and some of the older players who don't have all the PR and the latest going around, but are definitely deserving. And that's my only issue. Why are they first ballot, truly first ballot?
Yeah.
Well, listen, you got to remember that I tell people this, and for better or worse, it's a beauty pageant. It's a beauty pageant. It's like the NCAA and the old days, who was a national champion. It was a beauty pageant. There's nothing finite about this, because I've often said you'd have to really, if you really want to analyze this stuff, you'd have to go back, and then there's the nuances of watching a performance or somebody play. You'd have to go back and look at all the game film they ever played and grade them on every play. Then all of a sudden you would start to be getting some kind of empirical information to make an informed decision. But when it's all said and done, I experienced this when you used to vote for the Pro Bowl, the Pro Bowl where you go at the end of the year, the All-Star game.
Yeah.
And it was always like, okay, who's a defensive tackle that's really playing well right now, or who's an offensive tackle? If you're an offensive lineman as a rule, and you make the Pro Bowl, then as a rule your name will just come up again, and you're almost automatically renewed. This is by players. They don't know who's playing. We don't. When you're playing, you're not looking at everybody around the league. So it is for what it's worth, and I will conclude by saying it's unfortunate for Joe Jacoby, because he certainly is as deserving as any offensive lineman that is currently in the Hall of Fame. And I'll close up with that.
Final word with Riggo after a quick break.
Who sat here? Your student? A peer? Your best friend? What did they grow up to be? A scientist? A nurse? An entertainer? Did you know it back then that they were made to stand out? Celebrate the extraordinary people made in Virginia Public Schools. Nominate a public school graduate for the Virginia Lottery's Made in Virginia Award. Details at madeinvirginia.com. Deadline October 12th. The Virginia Lottery, $9 billion to education, 30 years of fun.
Gearing up for game day? Your local Safeway has everything you need for the perfect tailgating or home gating party. Pick up all your favorites like wings, chips and dips, brats, burgers, beverages, and pizza. Stop by the deli to pick up fresh fried chicken, or the produce department for a variety of party trays. Head on over to your local Safeway and pick up everyone's favorites. Safeway, the official supermarket of the Washington Redskins. Sports fans of all kinds have a new place to connect. Asbury Methodist Village. If you have a competitive spirit or just like to be active, Asbury has everything you need. Tennis and bocce ball courts, a fitness center and pool. Plus, whatever team you root for, you'll find kindred spirits at Asbury. Come for a tour and check out everything Montgomery County's leading senior living community has to offer. Visit AsburyMethodistVillage.org to schedule a tour and find more information on our services and top-notch reputation. That's AsburyMethodistVillage.org. Asbury is an equal opportunity housing provider.
All right, Larry, a final word. That would be football's over with, and next week we're really going to have to go to work here. Because what are we going to talk about next week? That's my final word. That's my last thought, because I will panic as soon as I walk out this door going, okay, we got no football.
Well, I'll tell you what, my guys got both Jim Brown and Adrian Peterson on the red carpet at the NFL Honors. So we're going to talk about that.
Oh, that'd be cool.
Bring that to the party next week.
Oh, I love it. And I'm thinking, too, just to give everybody something to look forward to, I think we might be able to get Doug Williams at some point in time, because I'm really curious to know what they're thinking about the position of quarterback for next year for this football team.
I think we ought to get Doug Williams right here in the studio.
That's what I was kind of...
for the podcast.
I mean, if you could make that happen.
That would be one way that Devontae could make up for today's show.
Oh, Devontae's fine. I didn't have a problem.
If you get Doug Williams in here.
Now, if it was Cooley that was late, that's a different story.
He'd be steaming a little bit, huh?
All right. I'll see you next week, Larry.
Thanks, man.
Thank you.